Episode 13. Continuing after the end last time, I've decided to actually go back and round up all of the remaining crystals that I haven't collected yet, which would be in each chapter except for chapter 2. I was debating whether or not I would go for all of these scans that I hadn't collected yet either. Frankly, the scans are more interesting to me than the crystals because they offer more lore, both in text and in environmental cues. But I think the scans are harder to track down, one because they can be anything, and two because there's no audio cue like the crystals have, or I guess a visual cue, like the glow of the crystals. In fact, even if I wanted to go for all of the scans, I think there's no existing guide, as far as I'm aware, for all of those. If there's anything that happens after you get all the scans, I wouldn't know either, but all I do know is that there's this icon that lights up when you get all the crystals, and no similar icon for when you get all the scans, like I did in the chapter 4 here. And this, I believe, is related to the simulations that you unlock from getting the crystals, so that's another reason that I want to go back and get them all. Once I complete this, I'm going to continue with the simulation levels, which I think should be short, just an extra challenge on top. I have with me some notes of all the crystals that I've been missing throughout the levels, or what I assume were the crystals I missed. The guide that I watched to compile this list was from Turn That Frown, their YouTube channel, a single video compiling all of the crystals in the game. In fact, all of the crystals collected with just the basic set of skills that you get normally throughout the chapter. I'd recommend that guide if you wanted to see what it's like getting the crystals normally, but I won't be doing them normally here, just because I want to ramp up what I'm doing in this game. Starting with chapter 1 from the beginning. Chapter 1 will be the hardest for me, I think, since I'm missing the most crystals and I'm going mostly off of memory, from what I saw in the video. Hopefully I don't miss anything along the way. When I said I won't be collecting them normally, I was referring to this. At the beginning of each level, it seems like there's going to be this power-up, which gives you all of the abilities you have by the end of the game. Most importantly, the grapple, which will let you cheat through pretty much the entire thing. Now, there are a lot of other important things like the air boost and the tic-tacking that you don't have in the beginning. But the other, I think, more important thing that you get, you might be able to tell, is the low gravity and increased speed that comes with, I think, chapter 4. I'm not sure if that's present in all chapters or if it gets taken away from you at some point. But normally I wouldn't have been able to jump this high in the base chapter 1. What you were supposed to do for this first crystal that I agonized over several times wasn't jump from that platform down there, but rather the first time you cross this pipe, even with the normal jump height, you would have just enough to jump and go around this corner to land safely right here. Of course, with the decreased gravity, that's no problem now. The other thing we get, of course, is the ability to survive any fall as long as we have a surface to grapple onto. No need to worry about that anymore. Although, that does mean we'll get into the geometry that we're not really supposed to. Normally wouldn't have been able to go down there, I don't think. You won't have the picks at this point. Second crystal, I think, is just around the corner. I'm not sure how I missed these the first time, but I may have not been clued into the sound cues at this point, or just not looking up enough. Maybe that was the second crystal I'm missing. And before I go any further, I'll actually turn on a helpful HUD element here. Was it this one? No. Maybe? It might be this speedrun mode. It says we have to restart, so maybe I'll just do that quickly and check. Okay, yes, and there's the HUD that I was looking for. Now, I'm not really interested in the speedrun aspect, so it's unfortunate that you have to restart to enable this. But the main thing that I'm looking for is the crystals found area. I know that I've been missing, what was it, 7, based on my notes, crystals here in Chapter 1. So if I only go ahead and collect those ones that I'm missing, that total should be around 7 by the end. Just to get this for the counter. Crystals, of course, end up being orange if you've already collected them, hopefully. Speaking of these abilities, after completing the game myself for the first time, I checked to see if there were any interesting looking speedruns of this game. While they are interesting, I might be disappointed to find out that most speedruns will be using what I'm using now, the unlocked abilities, for the sake of the minimum amount of time required to beat the game. Honestly, I might be more interested in a speedrun that doesn't use these abilities. It'd probably take hours longer, almost definitely. But I'm interested in seeing the way to get through the intended level design with the intended abilities, just in the fastest way possible. Next crystal I was missing was somewhere above. Of course, you would have been able to collect this after just getting the pickaxes. Climbing around from there over to here. And then upwards. Next crystal I'm missing should be around the corner. And this is actually part of a wider thing that I guess I ignored. After getting the pickaxes, I didn't really pay attention to a lot of the exploration that you could do. I think I probably just ignored it to go for the critical path, which was probably downwards, that's right, over there. Didn't really realize the amount of freedom I had back at the beginning of the game, I suppose. Of course, we have even more freedom now. I think it would be around the corner, actually. That's right. Over here somewhere. I think. Maybe not. I think it was actually above here somewhere. That's embarrassing. I think it was those cables above. There it is. Now the way you're actually supposed to get this one damn. Well, let me get back up there. Still not quite used to using this grapple. Climbing walls in particular is a bit hard. I think the best way is to hold back a little bit. If you're too close to the wall, you can't really get upwards momentum, just because you can't really aim higher on the wall. Oh dear. I just keep on screwing up. Let's actually get some checkpoints along the intended route, just in case I keep falling. I think if you were to climb all the way up there using the pickaxes, you would have just enough stamina to climb this wall, again with the base abilities. Make your way along here, and further up. Continue climbing up along this wall. Gain your stamina when necessary. And then when you're here, climb along this side of the wall. Onto this pipe. And if you didn't have the grapple and everything else, you would just slide down this and jump into the crystal. It'd be a very difficult one for Chapter 1. Definitely not something they probably thought anyone would try to do in their first run, unless they were really into exploring. There might be also another area you could have explored with just the basic abilities. A lot of scannables, probably only seeable if you're very inquisitive. And actually, it doesn't seem like there are any scannables here either way. So that brings me to 4 crystals. I'm still missing 3. Recall where 1 is. Just make my way further through the level and try to recall where exactly it was I was missing them. Before I do, though, damn. There weren't any more crystals over here. But I did want to check some things out. Again, I think this would all be explorable with some basic abilities, but no, not here. What I'm looking for are some scannables in this area that you would have only gotten if you were really exploring. Might actually be further down below. This is meant to just be crystal collection, but now that I have all these abilities, I would feel remiss if I didn't at least explore a little bit. Yes, it was this. All of these scaffolding would have been accessible with just the basic abilities of the pickaxe and your normal jump. If you had just bothered to climb along the edge here, all the way up. Yes, I guess the route would have been coming back to where you come out of this pipe at the beginning of the wall section. And climbing up along here. Somehow getting up here, maybe through that ledge over there. And climbing up as normal. This was all here if you were keen enough to look for it, just out of sight. The obvious geometry like this scaffolding, which would have pointed you towards something that you can climb, would have been a hint, but it was all obscured by the darkness and distance. And you would have been rewarded with scannables like these. It seems to be a machine designed to bore into the wall to extract material samples. It is currently inactive. And then the same one. These are stacked data cleaning computers. They are processing the raw sensor data retrieved from the material in these rats. A material research computer. Findings. Analysis suggests this material is not decomposable by weak natural processes, such as wind, heat, and water. It is light, but dense enough to be durable under extremely high pressure. This is likely why it can be shaped in such massive, modular components. It is undatable with existing methods, and it isn't clear what process arranged them. So this lore is of course pointing towards the structure itself. Perhaps the biggest question of everything, what exactly we're in, not really answered by anything we've really encountered. This doesn't give us answers, but it does point us towards the question at least, and show us that people were trying to figure out what was going on. Of course, I was pointed towards these scannables in the same crystal collection video that I mentioned before, Turn That Frowns. It wasn't a comprehensive look at all the collectibles, but I was interested in looking at these myself after seeing that video. And with just enough stamina, you would also be able to climb up here to find one more interesting tidbit. C8615, the observer team's colony number. This was likely their supply route. It is caved in and inaccessible. Just a little bit more lore on that observer team that we encountered throughout this level and I guess in Chapter 2. It might be a point of interest to figure out where they came from, because they certainly didn't come from the same place as our android, who is most certainly not Lorn, by the way. And this little scannable, I guess, is exactly that. This would be their supply route. Maybe they set up that scaffolding and everything. And of course, their own colony is inaccessible. Maybe it's even gone at this point if nobody repaired this cave-in. But it's just pointing out, I guess, a little bit of realism or something like that. Consistency, that's the word. Consistency with where the rest of the teams that aren't us came from. The kind of thing that you'd only get by exploring. Shit. Really, their route, if it was this scaffolding along the wall, wasn't too far from where we are. Where we started was just through this pipe up above, but I guess they did make their way up the pipe somehow if we found their little shack or hut as our first scannable collectible. Alright, now we're actually continuing. I'd have to figure out where the next crystal that I missed was. Still 3 more missing. Got that one already. Just continue along this way until something jogs my memory. Right, that one. That one I did remember, because it was irking me how much I was trying to get it, how much time I spent on it. And I tried going up this cable to jump onto that, only to find you can't latch onto the wall there. At that point I didn't even know that the icon here points to what you can grab onto. What you were supposed to do is, using your basic pickaxe ability, climb all the way up here, I think. Yeah. Think. And then I'm along the outside of this. Right. And then up to the cable to slide down it. Never would have thought of that. At least not in chapter 1, when I didn't really think too much about stamina. And where you can possibly climb. Alright, 2 more in this chapter. And of course this scaffolding was only ever here to give you a way back down. Before I continue though, in a separate video, I think I saw some more stuff up here. Not another crystal, but oh no. Watch that one. The grapple is most energy efficient, I think, but you have to be careful when using it. Was there anything up here? I think there was. Might be just some meaningless geometry. You know, I thought I found something up, saw something in a video up here, but I could be just wrong. Maybe another time. Well, one more try. One more real try. When they give you these abilities, there's a lot of weird geometry that you can see like this. But the thing is, the game is already weird geometry just like this. This might be a little bit more obtuse than what you normally see in the main critical path, but when you see things like this, a thin pipe and a larger pipe, they're obviously placed there intentionally. Maybe they don't lead to anywhere, but the developer of the game put these here, for whatever reason. you'd think. Well, I'll probably have to look it up some other time. Could have sworn there was something worth seeing over somewhere here. But I guess not. Let's just keep it to the crystal collection for now. I guess I can worry about other things I might have missed some other time. Don't think there were any crystals here. Thing about the critical pass is that it looks so much just like meaningless nonsense, the architecture. So if you were to actually get into parts of the level that are just more meaningless architecture, which are not part of the critical pass, it all just kind of looks the same, almost making it feel like that there could be something secret hidden away within any part of the level. If you were to play another game, getting outside of the bounds would just feel like you're not really getting towards anything worthwhile to check out. But I feel like in this game, any nook and cranny could be a potential secret. Even if you can only get there with the abilities that we have now after beating the game, I think that's something that would feasibly be hidden as an Easter egg or something. I'm not a very good explorer though, so I'm sure there's probably someone else that would have pointed out anything worthwhile to check out. That's right. That sound reminded me. This crystal that I never got. What you were supposed to do. Let's climb up this way. I think. Yeah, and you just have just enough headroom to get on top of this. I was thinking that you had to go forward and find a way back around and up, but there was no way back up from there. Alright, and then there's one more crystal, which I think I recall where it is, so we should be able to complete now. Chapter 1. The other chapters I think should go by faster in my crystal collection. It was actually up here. Remember... Yes, over there. Couldn't climb on... or you could climb on this, I just didn't. I think what I did was just go around the right side there, towards the owl. With my eyes maybe on that crystal. But if I was paying attention, I might have heard a crystal coming from this direction, and of course I would have found this to scan. Log terminal, colony 8.6.15. There is a strong wind that periodically passes through this area. It's not clear if this is a result of pressure above, or something causing a pressure differential below. It has occurred consistently since arrival. The wind is not strong enough to pose a threat, but light equipment should not be stored outside. Most of these screens display software for monitoring the resource usage of the computer. This many screens is suboptimal. A bit of a jab at multi-monitor displays, I guess. I myself only have 2 monitors, my computer, desktop, and my TV. Now it's not easier with the low gravity, but apparently this jump is quite hard with only the base abilities and only the wall jump. Well, not even the wall jump, just wall surfing and kicking off of it. Guess you'd have to like surf along the side here. That would be pretty hard because of the way your character kicks off in a direction you don't like. But of course, we don't have to worry about that now. It might be more lore to figure out somewhere, but I think I might do that on my own time since I don't exactly know where they are. Easter eggs as well. Chapter 2 is complete. Chapter 3 was the one that I was kind of dreading replaying. Even though I'm missing only 3 crystals, this area is so claustrophobic. Oh. I accidentally pressed continue. This area is so claustrophobic, it's hard to tell where I've been and what crystals I've already collected. The New Game Plus crystal. Wait. Photo flares. Of course, they're bound to R2. Currently not using triangle, I don't think. If I were to bind these to triangle... Nope, can't throw flares. That's a problem. I guess unlocking the grapple gun and everything, all your abilities, doesn't actually unlock the flares themselves. I'm actually going to see what it looks like if I change this back to R2. So of course you can do flares, and that just sends both of them out at once. I think I'll keep it on that for now, even though it seems maybe inconvenient if you're trying to go for a grapple and don't want to throw a flare. But I like having the flares on the trigger, 1 for muscle memory and 2 for being able to throw flares while keeping my thumbs on the stick. I guess I could put the flares on the scan button instead. But I'm already familiar with pressing R2 for flares. Voice. In this section, I already collected those crystals. I had so much trouble here, since I went for the crystals first. But I guess I should have noticed the obvious light here that was pointing towards the correct way forward. Perhaps if I spent a little bit more time in the dark, my eyes would have been drawn there naturally. Consulting my notes. I believe I'm missing crystals 4, 12, and either 5 and 13. Our first one should be along the cave route, near that waterfall, which I'm pretty sure was supposed to be moving. If I could recommend a button layout to the developers of this game for the controller, it would be what I have now, except for replacing flare onto L2 maybe, and then putting scan on triangle. Of course, the only important recommendation would just be putting jump onto L1. There's probably some debate on whether or not that's good for people that are already used to pressing X to jump, or A on Xbox. Now this water wasn't supposed to be flowing, I guess. That's probably all normal. But it was this. I'm pretty sure I saw this flowing. Oop. Actually, let's go ahead and change the binding. Throwing a flare in these narrow corridors is going to be a problem if I need to grapple. Or need to not grapple. So we'll put scan on triangle, as I said. Then flare on L2. It said it was already in use, but I don't see by what. Oh, cling. I'd forgotten about cling. And then it's inconvenient, but we'll put flare on triangle, I guess. Actually, can we do right stick for scan? Yeah, okay. I shouldn't be wasting time on the inputs this far in. Especially when it only matters for this chapter, I think. Now that I don't think I have a better way of doing this, I'll just keep it on triangle. Fortunately, can't really aim too well. Yeah, so this was definitely moving in the video that I saw. Maybe the entire river of sludge was moving too. But the waterfall for sure. I don't know what happened to my game specifically. Maybe some update. Caused some problems. Crystal I just collected was one that I thought I had missed, but apparently I'd gotten it. But I did have a number of crystals that I marked as unknown whether I collected them or not, which was one of these. So that clears that up. Next one I'm missing I have noted down as number 12, which would be under the ramp. Be a bit further in. remember how to get there. I believe our critical path was above. Guess we follow the rope. Right, and then we're in this section. After the long tunnel. Not above. Or no, it must be. Right, and the crystal caves. We follow the rope through here. Don't go that way. Follow the rope up this way. Somewhere up here. In the crystal tunnel. Unfortunately, since the crystals respawn as orange crystals, if you've already collected them, they still make a sound. So if you don't really remember too well which crystals you have and haven't collected, if you were going through the level trying to just go based off sound, collect whatever crystals you come across naturally by hearing, you would be led towards all the crystals you've already collected, unfortunately. Guess we head down from here. Have I gone too far? I don't think so. You know, I was wondering. There was definitely a guy there. I'll need to get a better look sometime. So this is why I changed my control scheme. It would be a huge pain in the ass to try to throw a flare in a section like this, and then grapple onto a surface, which would lead us to our deaths in the water below. Still much more handy to have the flares on right trigger. And of course, it would never be a problem in the basic flow of the game when you don't have flares and grapple at the same time. Right. Should be around here. I think. This looks right. The ramp that I had noted down should be something like these. Maybe. This isn't the way I came, is it? Crystal number 12. Is that before or after this? And we'll have to pause the video to check that guide again. I may have to. Even with all my abilities, such a simple jump. How embarrassing. Oh. It is liberating, even if I mess up quite a bit, to have these abilities going through the levels again. I think it's most interesting to get the collectibles the intended way. But flying around like this is kind of an irreplaceable feeling, I'd say. I don't think it was here. Actually, now that I have these abilities... That's a really long corridor. I think this is it. The sound that I'm hearing should be a crystal I haven't collected yet. Oh, I never noticed this person the first time. We were always adventurers, pushing the boundaries with our hikes in the conservation areas. When we found this place, we couldn't believe it. We didn't understand what it was. Why was there a massive tunnel, deep within the mountain caves? We kept coming back, going farther and farther without telling anyone. It felt like a secret we had to keep. Like we shouldn't be here, or tell anyone about it. But at the same time we were drawn in. Then we found these caves near the chasm. We pushed so far that we couldn't come back out. I'm glad you're here, though. At least I won't die alone. Can't believe I missed that guy the first time. What did I move to scan? Right stick. Which I guess it can still be... that solves some of my problems. I didn't like flare on triangle because I couldn't move the camera, so I'll put it on right stick. And scan on triangle. Although I guess it can still be L2 like it's always been, because we never had to climb and scan at the same time. Alright, happy with that. This explorer died in the sitting position. What? Oh. Their left shin looks broken and there are no supplies nearby. These bones are over 150 years old. You mean a ghost? Scanner tells me you're dead. I remember this wall, and thinking I was stuck in it. Knowing what I know now, I guess maybe you'd be able to jump your way back up. Yeah, I guess what you were supposed to do was talk to that guy on that side, but I only ever saw him after walking around the corner. A neat little trick they do. I wish I saw it as it was intended. Still, glad I saw it now. Now that crystal I'm missing, I think it was somewhere around here. Even with the guide, this whole maze is pretty difficult to circumnavigate. Don't want to go in the hole. Somewhere under one of these slabs of rock. Where the explorer is. Nothing in this corner. Nothing above. Have we been down here? We have. Can't go in these corners. I'm sure it was here. It's definitely these slabs. Here. It's weird geometry, putting it under this ramp or whatever. I guess those are the crystals I have the most trouble with, hearing that they're nearby but they're under something. There are some challenging ones that I haven't gotten just because the challenge might have been a bit too much, but I think most of the crystals that I missed were ones hidden like that. I'm wondering if the click of the right stick comes out in the audio after all the processing that I do. I thought I figured something out with the audio settings, but I could be wrong. Last one that we need was just somewhere around here. Again, in the dark. Something I would have missed. Oh. If I had collected all the crystals in that detour area to turn on the water, I could have jumped straight down here with the grappling. But as it turns out, I'm only missing one crystal around in this area. There it is. I'm not sure how I missed this the first time. Guess it must have just been the dark. Oh? I see. Maybe I confused one crystal with another. The sound of one crystal masking the other. Alright, we'll go ahead and load into this, restarting. I think what we'll do is just climb up to that area. That was so tantalizing before. If we can. Nope. Try one more time. Gotta aim further up with the initial grapple. Up as we can. Alright, and of course there was nothing up here. But it's rewarding, to me, personally, to get up to an area that was previously unreachable due to overhang constraints. We'll take a break here.